to Caffeinate and Dominate Fitness Podcast, talking all things training, nutrition, and supplementation. With your hosts, the two most average guys you'll probably ever meet, Matt Rukowski and Colton Langowitz. Subscribe to the podcast for more awesome content.
Welcome to Caffeinate and Dominate Fitness Podcast, where we are talking all things training, nutrition, supplementation, and a whole lot more, all while drinking some delicious coffee. So, I'm your host, Matt Rukowski, along with my buddy here, Colton. Oh, hold on one sec. Colton! Pick up the phone!
Hello?
What's up?
What's up?
All right, now that everybody has exited out of the podcast, for those of you still listening, we're going to get rolling. So just to start things off, just wanted to make a quick announcement that BioFit Labs will be launching our new line of protein powders, which we're super excited about and can't wait to get out to all of you guys. We'll have a pretty hefty sale in the first week, but it should be rolling out probably by Thursday. We'll also be rolling out with coffee, which we're super excited about.
So pumped.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a really long time. We have partnered with Hellbox Coffee here in Madison, and it's as good as it gets. I'm not going to, try to pump you guys full of lies or anything, but if you drink this coffee, you will live forever.
Forever. That's it. That's our claim.
Straight unicorn blood. We're here with our good friend Sam Thurow, who just started training with us not too long ago, and he's going to be asking us a lot of questions about the basics of training and nutrition and a lot of that for anyone just starting out. All right, so why don't we introduce Sam here?
All right, so what's going on? I'm Sam, a junior at UW-Madison. Majoring in rehab psychology, and then plan on going to graduate school to become a physical therapist. So I originally ran into these guys. Colton first. Originally went to MACC last year, and we had a class together and started talking, and ended up becoming good friends. I consider myself an athlete. I played football 4 years of high school. Worked out consistently there, but naturally I'm a skinny guy. So I did work out through college, but after not seeing any gains, I wasn't gaining weight, I wasn't going up in weight. I kind of got discouraged. Really didn't want to make me work out anymore, so I really took a good majority of a year off, and then I became one of those basic people. January rolled around, so new year, new me. Realized I wanted to change who I was, healthier lifestyle, and just better myself. So I thought to myself, who better to reach out to than Colton? Because I remember him talking to me about that he's certified or something like that in training, whatever. So figured I'd reach out to him, and through Colton, I met Matt, who turned out to be a genius when it comes to this stuff. So these guys have helped me out a long way, and I'm looking forward to reaching my goals.
We appreciate that, dude. It means a lot. So before we get started, thank you, Sam, but I just want to make a little bit of a disclaimer on both mine and Colton's behalf. So the advice we're giving is not by any means black and white. Everybody is very different, has different genetics, different lifestyles, different backgrounds, etc. Something that works for one person may not work or work as well for the next. So the information we give is purely based off what we've learned, either anecdotally or through scientific evidence, or have just learned by our own experience. So on top of that, things change often, over time. We don't claim to know everything, and if you ever hear a trainer or a coach or anyone else in the fitness industry claim to know everything, I would take that with a grain of salt, because there's still so much that we all don't understand. And in time, more and more knowledge and evidence will be brought into light, and we can begin to apply that new information to kind of optimize our training and our nutrition and supplementation and everything. So without further ado, also just another forewarning, you won't hear from all three of us at the same time. We only have 2 microphones and 3 people, obviously, so we'll be kind of passing the mics here and there. So anyway, I'm going to pass it on to Colton, and then we'll get started.
All right, Sam. So with you being a beginner, essentially beginning a new fitness journey and things like that, what are some questions that you have, and I think a lot of listeners out there would also have?
All right, so first off, Probably the amount of time I spend in the gym, because I've spent anywhere between an hour and a half to 45 minutes. I really just want to know what is the correct amount of time to really optimize my results.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a common question for a lot of people in there. Personally, I'm a fan of frequency over longer sessions. So I would say the more sessions you can get in, the better. I think you tend to lose intensity with a longer session, and with higher intensity through shorter, more frequent sessions, you can use that intensity to better each lift. I don't think intensity necessarily means a high heart rate, just the mentality and the mindset going into each lift and what you can put into that lift to what you get out of it. Unless you're doing something like a specific program like Ollie or powerlifting where you're performing maximum loads for anywhere from 1 to 3 to even 5 reps at maximal load with higher rest periods, I don't think there's any reason to be in the gym for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes longer for certain people. And that's all said, presuming everybody here listening and wanting to know things is a beginner and they are natural. Natural meaning they don't take any performance-enhancing drugs.
All right, and just to piggyback off that, I was just going to kind of add that if you're training intensely, it all, like Colton said, it depends on your goals, depends what you're training for. But if the goal is to train intensely, then odds are you can't train for 2 hours intensely, because that's, in the long run, you're just going to have so much central nervous system fatigue, and it's going to really inhibit your ability to recover from session to session. And in the end, that's just going to kind of lead to more plateaus, more burnout. You're going to need longer deloads, and it's just not optimal for results. So I would say, just to give everybody a number, I guess, kind of based on, it really does depend. I would say anywhere from like 45 minutes to maybe an hour and a half, all depending on what you're doing, how much volume.
I'd say if you're in there for an hour 15 max would be, and like Matt said, depending. You might have something where you're working on form. So if you're working on form for lifts, you're not necessarily loading yourself a high amount. And with that intensity aspect, you might think it's high intensity an hour and a half in, when you're finishing your workout. But I guarantee it's not the same amount of intensity you started that workout with, and you're not carrying that through the entire session. Nobody can.
Right. And you can definitely get help from supplements and just the proper nutrition and everything to kind of extend that intensity. But you still have to consider the amount of cortisol that's released later on in workouts, and that could lead to more muscle breakdown and not, the beneficial muscle breakdown, which would lead to like satellite cell proliferation and differentiation. Cortisol is something you want to keep minimized when you're in the gym, and that's something that's released kind of through longer workouts. And so the more you can minimize cortisol and maximize your intensity, basically get the most bang for your buck while you're in the gym. Or like Colton said, you come in with a strong mentality. You're going to come in intensely, you're going to train hard, and you're going to get out of the gym, and then you're going to focus on your recovery with your training or with your nutrition, and then depending on your supplementation too. But
plus, who wants to be in the gym for 2 hours a day? I mean,
yeah.
I've got a lot of shit going on, and
New word.
A lot of things going on, and I could use my time a lot better other places. If that's taking a nap for some people, or prepping meals, or anything, studying,
yeah,
paying attention to your kids, anything like that. I think your time could be better spent elsewhere, and you can still get the same benefits out of the gym in a shorter session. All right, Sam. Is there anything else, like as far as in the gym, you would want to know?
Yeah, totally. So, also like specifically, like what type of lifting should I be doing within the gym to maximize results? Because I know, like, just working out with you guys, like for starters, we did Olympic lifts and hypertrophy. So I was just curious on what you guys think would maximize results.
Right. Yeah, definitely. With that, I say results are different for everyone. For your case, your goal is to put on lean tissue. So some other people's case might be a goal to put on or to lose fat or maybe just lose weight in general or to bulk. There's plenty of different goals out there. So
Strength, explosiveness.
yeah, strength, explosiveness, anything like that. So with results, you got to look and see what your goals are, and if those results are making the progression towards your goals, then I think you're doing the right thing. For you, Sam, I would say if your goal is to put on lean tissue, then like we're doing, we're doing some ollie lifting, but that's just to get you exposed to some other stuff that we do, trying to get some form stuff in. We don't load you at a heavy weight for that. It's all form based so far. But for lean tissue, I would say hypertrophy and strength training would be a go-to for yourself.
Yep, I totally agree with that. And I guess I'll just drop a little bit of kind of basic scientific knowledge on this topic. So for you, Sam, you're saying that you want to increase your strength and build some tissue, some muscle tissue. So with any goal that you have, it's all about forcing adaptations in your body, forcing physiologic adaptations. So basically, you want to create an environment for your body that is conducive to forcing those adaptations. When you train for hypertrophy and you're training with progressive overload, meaning you're increasing the amount of weight you can lift or increasing the amount of reps that you can lift that weight, you're creating more cellular damage on your muscles. And through that damage, your body is basically taking it as a signal like, holy crap, that hurt. That was really hard. Now I need to adapt and put on more muscle so that it isn't so hard next time. So it's almost like a defense mechanism, but it's really like it's a reparation.
Yeah, I mean
that's
how we build a body.
Yeah, exactly. So there, and to get even a little more scientific, there are three main mechanisms for putting on muscle. So that's to my understanding. So that would be mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and then cellular swelling. So through those three mechanisms, you're going to be forcing adaptations with your body. You're going to be activating certain pathways that are going to be anabolic, so muscle building. And so I would say the biggest thing with your training is to ensure that you're getting enough volume. So I would say a good recommendation shown through research is 13 plus sets per body part per week. So, and the rep range is kind of depending on what you're training for, of course. So if your goal is for maximizing hypertrophy, that's probably somewhere in the 8 to 12 rep range. So you do want to hit lower rep schemes to increase your strength, because that's also going to increase your potential for hypertrophy. And you also want to hit higher rep ranges too, because that might increase some muscular endurance. You'll also get some cellular swelling adaptations and that sort of thing. So it's kind of tricky, just because it's such a process that we still don't fully understand. There's really no perfect program yet, and there's so much variability. But that's kind of like a good general guideline to follow is, 13 sets per body part per week. Make sure you're getting enough volume. Make sure you're continually from week to week progressing in weight or in reps or both. So if you can, and that's a good way to gauge your progress too, is if, from one week to the next you see, oh, I was able to do the same weight, but I did it for more reps. Or maybe that was a little bit easier, so I increased the weight and I was able to do that for the same amount of reps. That sort of thing. It's a good way to gauge that you're probably putting on, muscle and gaining strength through that process.
And with that adaptation that Matt is talking about, your body is adapting in a sense that it believes that it will face that stress again. So when you reapply that stress, your body should be better at taking it in and being able to perform better.
Right. Like just to give a really short example before we move on, cellular swelling that I mentioned. So that actually, you do that generally through higher rep ranges, but it's going to increase the amount of lactate and just, like a lot of lactate and blood buildup, just flooding the muscles with nutrients, but it's actually causing the muscle cells to swell up, and they're actually going to lyse or burst if they don't start, sending out signals, some biochemical signals that are saying to grow. So that's how the cellular swelling effect kind of occurs as compared to other mechanisms. But it's basically the muscle saying, hey, I'm going to burst, unless I grow. So I better grow soon, or else all these cells are going to die.
All right. we're going to take a short break here and take a sip of our Caffeinate and Dominate coffee. It is provided to us by Hellbox Roastery. It's a single origin light Honduran roast. We enjoy it, and it's great flavor. I haven't had anyone tell me different. I mean, they might just be scared to, kind of crush my dreams. But I haven't had anybody tell me different. We enjoy the flavor, and with it being a light roast, it is higher caffeinated. So a lot of people associate strong coffee with higher caffeine content, but realistically, the coffee bean comes off the plant with the most caffeine. The more heat it's exposed to, the less caffeine it'll have. So with a light roast, you're going to have more caffeine. With a dark roast, you're going to have less caffeine. So we went with a light roast. We do enjoy the aspect that it is a single origin based out of Honduras, and we just get the best flavor through that. Our buddy Josh Hellbach does a great job with it, and we look forward to bringing the product to you guys.
No, for real, that coffee's good. Like, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I like that with a little bit of milk. That shit's good.
Yeah, dude. If you're not drinking black coffee normally, I mean, you're not going to like black coffee no matter what.
Me personally, myself, I've never been a coffee drinker at all. Didn't really mind the taste, but I came in here today to have me try it. With a little bit of milk, that tastes good. I mean, I like it, so it's worth a try. All right, so looking at it from the more like supplemental side of it, pre-workout, post-workout, whatever, you name it. Do you guys have any like solid recommendations that I could actually promote good health and get me closer to my result? Because I feel like, if I go to GNC or something, the cashier who's ever working there, I ask them for some advice, and they immediately go to their GNC brand. So I don't know if they're being truthful, they're just trying to sell me to make money for themselves. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, what do you guys think is the most beneficial supplements I could be taking to promote my health?
Yeah, definitely a good question, Sam. I mean, you see a lot of things on Instagram, a lot of ads. You get one jack guy promoting this, you get another fake girl promoting this, the booty shot. Who doesn't want to buy that stuff and look like them? For supplements, I keep it pretty simple. I don't go too extravagant. I don't take anything that you haven't heard of, not based on product line, but based on just actual ingredients. So I start my day with fish oil, and I think fish oil is essential for everyone, whether you're working out or not. I think it's got loads of benefits. It's been proven. Yeah.
Hundreds of benefits.
Hundreds of benefits. It's been proven to, be one of the more beneficial supplements to take, especially for how dirt cheap it is. I mean, I pay a little bit more because I take it in liquid form. I don't like the capsules because I burp it up, but it's just me not wanting to burp in front of people and have fish breath. But a lot of people don't end up burping it up. I don't know. I just got a weird system. With that, I also take a multivitamin, just a standard. I think it's a 1 a day men's multivitamin. Anything you can get at the store, just to get your micronutrients in there that you might not be getting through food, real food. With my workouts, I like to take, before workout, I like to take BioFit Labs primer. I mean, I haven't experienced a better pre-workout in my time of training or my time of taking supplements since the 8th grade. Excuse me. You can leave that in there. I know my roommate formulated it, and I'm a part of the brand now with BioFit Labs. But me being biased, I can't even recommend anything else. There are a few other good products out there. I would say they're just higher priced.
Or lacking ingredient research with things like DMAA and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. I've had some pre-workouts where I wouldn't give to my buddy who lifts all the time, even as a joke, because I've almost passed out from him. But that's a sense of pre-workout. As for post-workout, I do enjoy some protein. BioFit Labs will be releasing ours soon, so we've had samples of that lately. And it's just I mean, Matt could talk more about it. He knows more about it than I do. But just a good protein source. And I also like to take creatine, one of the most researched supplements out there. And Matt, take it away. Give us some bro science
Let's try
on
to prevent
this.
this from getting into a rant. So I'm going to be fully transparent because, yes, I own a supplement company. I know a lot about supplements, and that's why I want everybody to know the truth about supplements, is that, this is coming from an owner of a supplement company who profits from people buying supplements. You don't need supplements, okay? It will give you that extra 10 to 20% to your training, your nutrition. It can supplement your diet a lot. It's really convenient. There are a lot of benefits of it, but you absolutely don't need it. There are things that I do take and that I will always take, and there are things that I recommend that everybody should take, whether they've bought BioFit Labs products or not. But supplements are exactly that. They are things to supplement your diet, things that you can attain from your diet, but maybe it's too expensive or too hard to access. There's some things that are just not as available in food sources and that you can get in higher dosages in supplements. So, but without, getting too far into that topic, things that I take every day, multivitamin, fish oil, things that, unless you have a very, very, very clean, very balanced diet where you actually know you're getting all of your micronutrients and phytonutrients,
which is hard to do under a lot of people's calorie limits.
Yeah, if you're in a caloric deficit or something, then you're probably not going to be able to get all of your vitamins, and it's just much more convenient to get all of it from one source, which would be multivitamin, than to try to still get as much vitamins as you can through real food. But real food is always the first answer. So, and then fish oil, I'll always recommend that somebody takes fish oil. You don't have to buy BioFit Labs fish oil. There's tons out there, but I recommend that because your omega-3s are so important, improving your omega-3 to 6 ratio. And, there's benefits for your brain, your heart, your arteries, basically everything, your joints. Just, there's so many benefits. And I think we have an article on the site actually about that too, just all the benefits of fish oil.
The joints is a thing I would say I notice the most.
Yeah.
Is how much better my joints feel and move through playing basketball or through lifting. Not that I ever have a huge problem, but you don't get that total just achiness. I'm not saying it's going to limit that for everyone, but that's how it benefits it for me.
Yeah. And another thing about that is everybody thinks, and he even says that on fish oil or on fish oil containers, take 1 capsule per day and you're good to go. But the actual clinical dosage of fish oil is about 6 to 9 grams. So you should be taking at least 6 minimum capsules per day, no matter what your weight is, unless you're maybe like 50 pounds and you're a child. But so I would not just recommend taking 1 capsule per day. Take more than that. So I created Primer because I never had any intentions of selling it myself. I basically bought all the ingredients in bulk, and I spent well over 500 hours formulating it myself, and that was solely for my purpose, my own use. And I put in all the time, the research. I went through. I have a massive, about 50-plus page document where I just have every single ingredient I've ever found in a pre-workout, and I went through all the literature on it. At what dosage does this work best? What interactions does it have with other ingredients? What is it synergistic with? What is it antagonistic with? What does it compete for uptake with? That sort of thing. And then I finally felt like I kind of nailed the formula down, and I just started taking it myself, and I fell in love with it. And I just gave it to some friends, just had them try it, and eventually everybody convinced me to start a supplement company and start selling it myself. That was never my intention. So, and I don't take Primer every day. I don't take it every time I train. I still try to cycle off of caffeine and try to cycle off of pre-workout because I like to keep my sensitivity high for it. But I do think, it's a great addition to kind of my supplement arsenal. So then, without continuing this rant too much, I also take Protein Source. And yes, I could get this from food, but I do really like the convenience and kind of just, the $1 to $2 per serving
The purity.
cost. Yeah, it's really, it's good. Macronutrient profile is really good on most protein powders. Taste is good. You can mix it with, you can make some really cool recipes with it. It's convenient. You can take it on the go. You can't always shove a piece of steak in your backpack or something like that. I mean, you could.
Although we have.
Yeah, we sure have tried.
Get some weird looks.
But other than that, and then I take BCAAs in between meals, and that's just kind of keep my muscle protein synthesis high, especially more so while I'm cutting and trying to stay in a caloric deficit, because the more you can minimize muscle breakdown while you're cutting, obviously that's going to lead to more tissue preservation. And other than that, that's about all I take other than creatine, and Colton kind of already spoke about creatine, so that's as much as we take. We don't, nothing really extravagant, and we're starting to play around with some new ingredients and things just to help our brain health and just our overall cognitive functioning. But
you guys will hear more about that in the future, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam, do you have anything else that you would want to know more about supplements or things like that?
Yeah, so I noticed Matt said supplements aren't necessary, but they do help. So since they aren't necessary, what would you guys think are the most essential components or component in putting on healthy weight?
With that, I would say the biggest thing is going to be consistency, because I mean, you could do something for a week or a month and you're not going to have the success that you see people posting pictures of and things like that. So being consistent, not getting frustrated with things would be, I think, the most essential component in putting on healthy weight or losing weight or any kind of fitness goal and journey. As far as food-wise and things like that, I would say, as for you putting on healthy weight, caloric surplus is hands down the most important thing. Diet factors into, a huge part of everything. You train once a day, maybe 5 to 6 times a week, but you're eating 3+ times a day. So, you're talking 21 times a week you're eating. Matt, take it away, man.
Let's see. So, Colton covered a lot of it, but I would just say for Sam, for you, and anyone else that's listening to this, download some sort of food tracker app. So whether that's MyFitnessPal, or I'm sure there's lots of other ones out there, I would download MyFitnessPal. That's my favorite one. And just start tracking your calories. See what your current intake is. See how many calories you're taking in per day. And then and then there's a section in MyFitnessPal where you can actually put your goals. So if your goal is to put on half a pound, maybe 1 pound per week, and when you think about that, that's 52 pounds in a year. So that's a good amount of weight you'd be putting on. So I don't see anyone needing to put on more than a pound in a week.
I put 30 on in 3 years. So
yeah,
and that's
a good amount. So
one thing with the MyFitnessPal, they do a great job. It's very user friendly. They got barcode scanning, things like that. One thing I would look into adjusting would maybe be the suggested macros or the macronutrients. You're talking your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates.
Yeah, I would recommend. It's pretty much the general trend in the fitness industry, and research supports this to a point, but it also shows that you can have positive nitrogen balance with lower amounts of protein. But it's a good general recommendation to go about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So you're about 170? I would have about 170 grams of protein to start with. And for you, because you're probably very insulin sensitive, because you're a lean guy who struggles to put on weight, you're probably going to be more insulin sensitive, and that's why I would say you can afford to have quite a bit more carbohydrates. So if you're staying consistent and you have it's kind of hard to say what your caloric surplus is going to need to look like. That's going to come so much down to just monitoring it. So I would start with maybe a 300 to 500 calorie surplus based off your or beyond your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is basically if you laid on the floor and did absolutely nothing for an entire day, that's how many calories you'd burn just by being alive. So all your vital organs and everything like that.
Going into that, Matt and I actually had body compositions test done. They suggest what your BMR would be, and with that, mine was right around 2,200 calories. It's like Matt said, laying on the floor, doing absolutely nothing. Now that's going to vary from person to person, from how active you are and things like that. We were talking earlier today, Matt and I sleep right around 5 hours a night, so I think I'm going to burn more calories than someone that sleeps 10 hours a night. That's just my thought.
And not because you don't burn calories when you're sleeping. You still do. But he's just a very active person is what he's saying.
So, I mean, that's going to vary from person to person. That's why we can't give a recommendation based on what your BMR would be. With that, Matt suggested 300 to 500 calories for a surplus for putting on, lean tissue. I 100% agree with that. And when you get into that 800 to 1,200 more calories, that's going to be very uncomfortable. The 300 to 500 might be uncomfortable for people, but I've done, if you're eating real food, real quality food, you're talking maybe eating another, time and a half what you normally eat. That's going to be uncomfortable for most people, and that's where you would get discouraged, being uncomfortable versus like falling back into a point where you're comfortable. Plus, you're not going to be generally not going to be putting on enough weight for that extra, 500 to 800 calories to matter that much.
Yeah. And I guess just to finish up this answer, the end all be all is calories in, be all end all, or is it end all be all?
End all be. We should just these phrases because we're not very good at them.
The ultimate summary of weight gain or weight loss is calories in versus calories out. It's a basic rule of physics. So if you are not gaining weight, that means that the calories or let's say you're losing weight, that means you're not taking in enough calories, okay? It's that simple. It's not, I'm not eating right, I'm not training hard enough. No, you're not taking in enough calories to support the building of tissues. You're going to be in a catabolic state if you're losing weight. If you're gaining too much weight and, you're gaining maybe 1 pound, 2 pounds a week, then you're eating more than you're expending, okay? It's very, very simple when you think about it, okay?
There's no magic food or magic pill or
Right.
anything like that. There's no shortcut.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard people say there's, take this and you will lose 50 pounds in 1 month. Michael Scott.
Take this. What if I told you could take this pill and lose 50 pounds in 1 day?
Really?
Well, it wouldn't be that fast, but
Be that easy.
All right, anyway. But yeah, so honestly, it's really, really simple. If you want to gain weight and you want to gain maybe half pound to a pound a week, start eating consistently. The same amount or really, really close to the same amount every single day for a whole week. Weigh yourself that next Monday as soon as you wake up in the morning. And if you gained weight, great. Things are going on the right track. If you gain too much weight, maybe you put on 2 pounds, then dial back your calories just a little bit, maybe 100 to 200 calories. And if you lost weight, then obviously you're not eating enough. So start eating more.
That, yeah, definitely. And with that, MyFitnessPal, it's not something you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. Trust me. I used it for a month, and then I nailed down, what I generally eat. It's a great thing for restaurants because you go somewhere and they generally have, something you order on the menu on there because the menus don't always have it. But it's definitely something that you can learn from, and you should be learning from, in a sense of, people that measure food. You don't have to measure food for the rest of your life. After a while, you might have a general idea what a quarter cup of almonds is, or what a half pound of chicken is. You should.
Yeah. I still use MyFitnessPal every so often just to gauge, some things that maybe I haven't had before, or if I begin maybe a bulking phase or a cutting phase, just kind of see where I'm at. When I have this meal plan planned out, or maybe I'm planning my meal plan for the whole week, and if I'm going to be eating the same thing a few times a week, or the same breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, then I'll plug all that into MyFitnessPal, see if that fits the amount of calories that I'm looking for and the same macronutrients that I'm looking for. Then I'm pretty good at estimating from there on out. So it's really something that, especially for beginners, it's an awesome tool, and I think it should be used consistently. But once you get really good at it and you can start estimating food pretty well or keeping track in your head, then that's always something you can do. But I think it's always good to start out with training wheels and then worry about riding a unicycle later.
All right, sweet. So yeah, with that being said, like I have to take in a certain amount of calories per day to see some results. So my next question is times of the day to be eating. Is it going to be 3 huge meals that will get me through or put me there, or is it best to keep it spread out throughout the day, like smaller meals, or how do you think I should go about that?
Okay, so I'm gonna try not to rant on this because
Rant your ass off, bro.
So everybody says, oh yeah, if you want to lose weight, then eat 6 meals per day and just smaller meals. But at the end of the day, the caloric intake is the same. So research shows that there's really no difference, no significant difference between having 3 larger meals per day or 6 smaller meals per day or 18 even smaller meals per day. It really doesn't matter so long as your calories in is what you want it to be and your calories out is what you want it to be, or your calories expended versus your caloric intake in your food. And really whatever minimizes the amount of psychological effects of if you have trouble eating really frequently because you're just not used to it, you don't have to. You can have 3 meals per day. Or maybe if you find yourself getting hungry in between meals, then maybe, separate your meals into a little bit smaller meals and have 4, 5, 6 plus meals per day. It really comes down to what works best for you, and there's no one size fits all. There's no benefit or detriment to having a ton of meals per day or just a few. And that's why intermittent fasting has proven to be effective. It's not because you're only having 1 meal per day and it makes it easier for fat loss. It's creating more of a caloric deficit. So I'm not going to get into the rant of intermittent fasting or anything like that, but yeah.
And for someone like you, Sam, for you to hit that, that 300 to 500 extra calories a day, it might be hard for you to eat 3 meals and add, 100 to 150 calories per meal. So, I mean, it might not either, but with real food, people say, 100 calories, that's easy. But when you're already eating what you're normally used to, when you're adding 100 to 150 calories of real food, it can be hard or different, especially for 3 meals a day. But if you have to disperse that out or even add a 4th meal to what you're normally used to and hit those extra calories that way, I think then you can do that better that way. But as for people that are losing weight, it might be hard for you to eat those 3 meals a day and be hungry in between there. So you might make it into 4 or 5 meals, but even more, thin on those 4 or 5 meals versus the 3. Still to hit that caloric deficit or caloric surplus. With that being said, on the whole losing weight and things like that, I think people struggle because they try too hard, too quick to lose weight. But on the other end of that, when you're losing weight, you should have time where you're hungry. People think that that's stress, and it is, but it's good stress if that's your goal, is to lose weight. You should have time where you're hungry. You shouldn't be like, I'm always hungry, but you should have time where you are in the absence of food and you can live and be comfortable being hungry. Think back
it's a hormonal response to being in a caloric deficit. It's ghrelin.
Yeah.
Yep. It's completely natural. There are ways you can minimize your your hunger signals, but in the end, if you're in a catabolic state, you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to be hungry at some point because you're not taking in enough food, and your body knows that. It knows that it's not being supported by the amount of calories that you're taking in. So anyway, keep
yeah. And you think back to something like the Stone Ages, where they had to hunt for their food or they died. They were hungry that entire time they were hunting. It's not like they were like, I got hungry, let me go grab a Snickers bar downstairs and I won't be hungry anymore. They were discomfort, whatever you want to call it, that entire time through until they found their meal. They ate up, became less hungry, and then did the same thing over again. We have so much access to, life's a lot easier, obviously, now, but we have greater access to just grab and go whenever we feel that little bit of discomfort. So if you're losing weight, trying to lose weight, think about that in a sense of, yes, you're going to have to feel hunger. And if that's not something you're willing to do, then that's probably not going to help you through your goals.
Yeah. Initially, it's pretty much guaranteed if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to feel hungry. And if you're trying to gain weight, you're probably going to feel a little bloated or a little bit, your GI system might feel a little irritated just from the excess of food because your body's not used to it. Your hormones are not fully adapted to that caloric intake or that stretching of the stomach or lack thereof. Over time, it does normalize to a point. If you're cutting, like a lot of times when I'm cutting initially, I'm getting pretty hungry, and there are things that I can do to kind of maximize my satiety during that time. But there are also times that it kind of normalizes, and I notice like, okay, I'm not getting too hungry anymore. So initially, yeah, you just have to accept that there's going to be some discomfort, whether it's to eat less or to eat more. But in the end, I mean, things start to normalize and even out, and it just makes it a lot easier moving forward as long as you're staying consistent.
Does that kind of answer your questions with, the best time of the day to eat, how often to eat, things like that? I mean, it's really comes down to still that caloric surplus.
I mean, totally, yeah. I mean, all this information is useful, so I appreciate that. So, lastly, to kind of finish up here, so I'm a junior, just turned 21, go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh, yeah. Go Badge.
So my question it's about drinking and how that affects my goals. I mean, it can't be good, but is it bad or explain?
All right. Going into that, I've done a lot going into this just because I do have a pretty good go-out workout balance, I think, at least. I work out more than I go out, but I go out more than the average. I mean, being a college kid, I'm 22 at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It's kind of a good time out here on State Street. So if you guys are ever in town, hit us up. We'll take you out, show you a good time. So with drinking, it's going to impact you in a couple of different ways. I actually, when I was doing research on this, I found a guy who is a professor at the University of North Texas. His name is Dr. Jacob Vingren. He's one of the few that does any research on this and any research on how alcohol actually affects training. With us being younger people, so if there's anyone older out there, I'm sorry, but younger people tend to drink more often, so our liver tends to be more adapted to drinking alcohol and increasing alcohol dehydrogenase, or ADH, basically saying the more often you drink, the more effective your liver is at producing ADH. Alcohol, depending on muscle fiber, whether it's type 1, will prevent androgen receptors, and type 2 will reduce. So type 1 being your slow twitch muscles, it's completely prevented of androgen receptors, and type 2, it will reduce, the amount of androgen receptors there, so it's less likely to have testosterone bind to it. Therefore, you have less receptors available and less of a chance for testosterone to make a biological effect. When you're talking about different types of exercise, alcohol alone does not reduce maximal strength or power while you're drunk. I don't know if many people are getting in sessions while they're hammered, but if you're playing, beer league, softball, volleyball, anything like that, it's not going to reduce your maximal strength or power while you're drunk or after drinking.
Though it does impair motor.
Yeah.
Your coordination, in case you didn't already know that.
Yeah. You might get a little tipsy and that might affect you, but as far as for muscle, your maximum strength or power or power while you're drunk or after drinking and when you're hungover isn't going to be reduced through alcohol. As far as recovery, if you're going to be working out a night before you go out, alcohol is going to increase the amount of time the muscle needs to recover. It reduces the activation of protein synthesis, which is needed for the muscle to recover. And that's shown in studies to be in men, but not women. And that's simply because men have a higher amount of testosterone. With that hormone, it's affected more significantly. So women, drink up, you're good to go. I guess men were kind of SOL. Like I said before, with a small amount of alcohol or, oh God. All right. I say so that way I know to cut it out. With that, if you know you're going out drinking with some buddies, maybe don't do resistance training beforehand, or do it as early in the day as possible, so that way that muscle does have a little bit of time to recover before you are getting the alcohol. I would still suggest just scratch the day, go out with the buddies, have a good time.
Maybe plan your rest day to be the day that you
Yeah,
plan on
definitely.
going out.
And the reason I'm saying that, like, oh, you're saying not to work out before going out, or the day of going out, and I say, yeah, because with that, your recovery is affected. So you're looking at the next 1 to 3 days where your sessions might look like garbage or might feel like garbage because your muscles aren't recovered to the sense of what they would normally be. Therefore, you're losing out on those 1 to 3 days of training, and I think those 1 to 3 days of training are more important than the one day where you're not getting full muscle recovery anyway. That being said, like types of alcohol and things like that, most of the studies are done with vodka just because it is more pure of an alcohol. Whereas if you're drinking beer, yeah, it's more calories, but it also is going to have antioxidants, sugar, and a variety of other things that may help recovery as well. And that's not for me to say, yeah, workout and your post-workout should be a beer. That's not what you should be doing. I think there's a lot of better options out there than hammering a beer, because there's nothing in a beer that...
At least blend your beer up with a protein shake,
Yeah, there we go. That might be it. But, I mean, it does have nutrients that are going to assist in recovery.
Yeah. I'll kind of go off of that and just say everything in moderation is okay. So it's okay to go out. Everybody wants to have a social life, have fun. Obviously, you don't have to drink to have a social life, but you also shouldn't feel ashamed if you want to go out and have some drinks with your friends. There's nothing wrong with it. Be responsible, be safe, but everything, like I said, in moderation. I would say for you, Sam, if muscle growth is the goal, here are a few kind of key things that I would consider kind of the day of and the day after you go out. So if you plan on going out on a day, I would say go do some cardio in the morning, or do some form of exercise, maybe some really low intensity, steady state, burn some calories, try to give yourself a little more of a cushion. And something to kind of consider is that alcohol, once it enters the body, alcohol to the body is perceived as a toxin. So that is going to get basically metabolic priority. So until the alcohol is fully oxidized by ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase, until it's fully oxidized, then you can't actually process any of those other macronutrients that you have in your system, basically, that you want to absorb and metabolize. Or I shouldn't say just absorb, but to actually utilize those macronutrients. So if you're planning on going out, like I said, maybe some low intensity, steady state cardio, definitely have a high protein meal before you go out, for a couple of reasons. It can increase your cholecystokinin secretion, which is actually going to, it's a hormone, and it's actually going to slow the rate of gastric emptying, which means that when you actually do drink alcohol, it's going to be absorbed more slowly into the blood. So you're not going to get as drunk as quickly if you were to drink enough to get drunk. And so it's also going to, if you are having, maybe like a high sugar drink, like, we love our margs, then it may assist with kind of like slowing the absorption and kind of the glucose spike that comes along with high sugar alcoholic drinks. So definitely have a high protein meal before. It can also kind of assist with recovery once it is metabolized the next day. And then as far as when you're done, and then for that next morning, as soon as you wake up, I would take either a protein shake or maybe some BCAAs and try to rev up your muscle protein synthesis as quickly as possible. Drink a lot of water. Try to get more hydrated for the rest of the day. And a lot of the times people might not feel too great when they go to the gym the next day after they drink. Most of the time I would say that's because they're dehydrated. Not so much because the alcohol, affected their strength abilities or anything like that.
Because that's what do people usually drink? The fruity stuff that has a ton of sugar.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are going out to the bar, pouring in Crystal Light to their vodka waters.
We have done that.
We have. You get some weird looks. People are like,
what is that powder that he's adding to his friend's drink?
I always do it when Matt goes to the bathroom, so that way they're like extra skeptical.
Yeah. But no, so definitely, I was going to say, and yeah, alcohol in itself actually inhibits ADH, and that is not alcohol dehydrogenase. That is antidiuretic hormone, vasopressin hormone, and that's actually what causes you to have to go to the bathroom more often, and you're going to get more dehydrated because it's going to cause you to retain less water.
Break the seal.
Break the seal. Yeah, so I guess that's all the science we've got for you guys and kind of how to apply it. Keep your protein intake high before and after you drink. Try to stick to the lower sugar drinks. And definitely go and do some cardio in the morning the next day too. Try to just get back on track and get refocused for the next few days. Yeah, that's about it for that topic, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. As good as I can still party.
Hi, my name is Sam, and I like to party. You're Kevin. I know for a fact you don't party. All right, Sam. So before we shut her down, do you have any more questions you wanna hit us up with?
I guess so. So for anyone out there who's just starting to begin working out, lifting, trying to be healthier, I know I'm fortunate enough to have you guys on damn near daily basis. So I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate all the info you give me, and hopefully I don't annoy you with all my questions. But sort of to close out, for people beginning, what kind of advice or tips do you guys have to overall just get them a good start into fitness?
Mm-hmm. All right, so first of all, you definitely don't annoy us with all the questions. Colton and I freaking love getting asked questions, and I hope we don't annoy you with us pretty much dishing out a bunch of science in the middle of a set or something like that we're currently lifting.
I love when Sam wanted to get at the gym with us because it gives me a chance to coach and things like that again. I mean, coach, but gotta help someone and be a small part of Sam's journey here, or if you get to program for anyone, it's a great time to be a little piece of the puzzle on their journey.
Yeah, I get more excited seeing you hit a PR than I do seeing myself hit a PR. It's really cool seeing someone else who's starting out, who's really enjoying everything, having a lot of fun, making some serious gains, and doing really well. So some advice that I have for someone just starting out, I think the most important thing is to, number one, be consistent. Obviously, if you're not consistent, it's really going to be hard to go back and be like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Because you didn't track anything that you were doing. You don't know where you could have screwed up, and you can't have someone just look at what you've been doing and kind of tell you where you went wrong. By staying consistent, you know exactly what you're doing from week to week, and then if you change one thing, then whether it benefits you or sets you back a little, that was the reason why. Otherwise, there are just too many variables if you're not consistent. And then the last thing is just to find what you enjoy, whether that's going on runs, which I'm not particularly fond of, or weightlifting. And even within the spectrum of weightlifting, if you enjoy Olympic lifting, you enjoy the dynamic explosive lifts, or you enjoy putting on muscle and kind of the psychological intensity and trying to just sculpt your body in a way, or you enjoy lifting really freaking heavy weight and you enjoy powerlifting, or any of the above, whether it's rugby, hockey, football, basketball, gymnastics, anything, find what you enjoy and just stick to that, and stick to that until you don't enjoy it anymore. Because if you're not having fun while you're doing it, you're probably not going to adhere to it for very long. It's going to be a lot harder to stay motivated to fine-tune your nutrition and be eating, in a way that's conducive to a healthy lifestyle. And if you don't enjoy it, then there's really not much of a point in doing it. I mean, there are certain aspects that I guess I kind of suffer through. For example, cardio. I'm not a huge fan of cardio, but I know that it's going to help me in other aspects of things that I do enjoy, such as getting leaner, which puts me in a better position with my insulin sensitivity and other things to put on muscle in the future and that sort of thing. So just kind of always keep your eye on if you are actually enjoying what you do. And if you're not, find something else. And you really won't know until you give it a shot. Okay, and then one last thing is I was just going to say stick to a program and trust that program. So it's way too often that people just kind of hop from one protocol to another protocol and they get really quick and impatient and they really don't even give their bodies a time, or they don't give their bodies the amount of time necessary to force adaptations because they've already moved on to the next type of training or next program or different exercises. So really just stick to one program initially and trust that program. Somebody created it for a very specific reason, or maybe you created it yourself for a very specific reason. Trust your programming and really just stick to that for a while until you see whether or not you're actually forcing adaptations and you're increasing in your weights or increasing whatever it may be. Maybe you're running faster, maybe you're running farther, anything really. But stick to one program and adhere to that until it stops working.
Yeah, definitely sticking to a program and, Joel Embiid, trust the process. I don't know if he's copyrighted that yet or whatever, but
process.
We'll see. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that you need to do the same thing for the rest of your life. If you are consistently doing a program and you get to a point where you're not seeing results anymore, you're not seeing results that are leading towards those goals, I believe that you need to assess your programming, like Matt said.
And nutrition.
And nutrition, yeah. Assess your programming and nutrition, and like Matt said, that comes with tracking things. That comes with, the consistency of everything, being able to see what is impacting and what is not, and tracking goals too. So if you're not seeing results, I think you need to take a serious assessment and make changes where they need be. If you don't know what to change, hopefully there's a lot of information out there. I think we're going to do this podcast thing for a while if we like it. And then if you guys like it, we don't mind talking to each other and stuff like that. But
we do it often enough.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, we might as well record it.
So send us a question. Email us, whatever you got. Let us know.
Yeah, we'll do tons of Q&As. I love doing Q&As. So
for sure.
Everybody, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're on the site, whatever, you can email us, you can comment below, whatever it may be. Just you can always get in touch with us, and we'll definitely make sure to answer your question.
Until we blow up, then we'll just blow you off.
Yeah, when we're rich and famous. No, I'm just kidding.
Your questions are irrelevant. No.
Totally kidding.
Just kidding. That's the sarcasm. But no, it's just coming down to that consistency and really being patient with it. And yeah, you could be like, well, I've been patient for 6 months. Well, then, yeah, you need to assess your program, your training, your nutrition, and see what changes you need to make based upon that. Other than that, Sam, thanks for coming on the show. It was great to have you. I don't know if we have any other plugs, do we?
All right, so we're going to test to see if anybody's actually listening to this still, because this has been a pretty lengthy podcast. But for all of you guys still listening, I'm willing to throw out a little bit of an offer here. So the first one to email me, matt@biofitlabs.co, email me and say, Colton is a tool, and hit send, okay? The first person that does that, we will ship, the day that we launch our coffee, we will ship 1 pound of coffee to your door for completely free. First person, okay? So maybe only 2 people will email. I hope 100,000 people email me saying that Colton's a tool. That would make my day. And but yeah, so first person to do that, hopefully you want some free coffee. But yeah, that's...
Anything else? I would say if you want to see more about our day-to-day, not just listen to us talk about whatever on Mondays, follow us on Instagram. We have personal accounts and fitness accounts if you're into that stuff.
2 business accounts.
I've got at Colton_Langowitz and at Colt Gets Fit. Also follow at Caffeinate and Dominate podcasts. Matt, what you got?
I got at Matt Rakowski. But otherwise, I have my at BioFit CEO account, which is mainly my fitness account. So I do a lot of like training videos and physique updates, some meals and stuff like that, and a lot of education too. I do a lot of supplement ingredient educational posts and some other stuff like that.
Guy's huge.
Yeah, I've got like, not to brag or anything, but like 120 followers. So.
Shoot, dude. You're times 10 that with this.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. For those of you that are still listening, we hope we didn't get you guys to all exit out of the podcast as soon as we started doing our what But anyway, we will be here again next Monday for Caffeinate and Dominate podcast.
Episode 3 will be coming up.
Yep, we'll talk all things training, nutrition, supplementation, and more. All right, I think that's about it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to Caffeinate and Dominate Fitness Podcast. Talking all things training, nutrition, and supplementation. With your host, the two most average guys you'll probably ever meet, Matt Rakowski and Colton Langowitz. Subscribe to the podcast for more awesome content.